right. Welcome back to What She Says Sports. It's Nola Girl in the house. Okay. All right. Y'all ready? All right. So, uh, one thing that we're talking about today is breadcrumbs and connections, right? Breadcrumbs and connection. Breadcrumbs are bits of information or data that people leave behind intentionally so you can understand or fill in the piece to a puzzle about what has been happening, right? Or, maybe it's intentionally there and it's to establish a connection. Enough breadcrumbs can be represented as a group of people talking to one another. Now, one of the things that I know, and y'all might know too, but from research, Facebook, Instagram, DMs, but Facebook, thieves use Facebook to plan robberies, heists, boosts, flash mobs, whatever, whether it's at somebody's house or whether it's at the mall. They use social media to how should I say, to coordinate what they're going to do. And it makes sense, right? Because if somebody's looking for a booster, you have robbery for hire. If I want to hire some boosters, it's not like you're just going to type in, I'm looking for a booster, and they have business cards and they have a page, I'm a booster, hire me to commit a crime. It don't work like that. These people are found word of mouth, and it's about who you know, right? And if I'm a booster and, I'm took on a job and I'm maybe the lead dog or somebody, maybe I call the shots or somebody else calls the shots and I work for them and somebody need to get in touch with me because I'm driving the getaway car. So, hey, what y'all want, right? My boss say y'all need this house in Ohio robbed. Well, hit me up or hit up this person on Facebook and they gonna get you what you need. And you like, cool. So you go on Facebook and you type in the names to say one of the suspects. But let's just go with the getaway driver, Jarvis. Let's go type in his first name, his last name. Not a very common name, but somebody else might have the name. And on Facebook, how do you discern which one is the right one? Because it don't say I'm a booster, right? There has to be a breadcrumb. There has to be something on the account to let the person know you got the right page before you DM them. Because you don't want to just start DMing random people named Jarvis and asking, are you a booster that's going to rob the house in Ohio? You don't want to do that. So there has to be something on the page. It's not the name. So there's something else about the profile that you put out there. You and the people you working with, whether they going up to Ohio or they the ones that's going to take all the stuff you stole and get it to the people that fence it so y'all can get that money, right? So there's something about the profile that lets the client know they got the right person who is the booster who's going to go to Ohio to rob this house at this address, whether you know who lives there or not, right? One thing we know, the police in Medina County told us that these guys get told where to go. They have a boss, basically. We know the car was rented in somebody else's name and they picked it up and used it to commit the crime. What is that to do? To protect the booster's identity, somebody else rented the car. Now, I would imagine the police know who the somebody else is, right? The first person they picked up was the driver of the car, Jarvet Myrick, right? Then they got the other people, right? And we know one dude is still in the wind, right? So we can check off the box. Was this an inside job at Shedeur Sanders' residence while he was playing the Ravens? Check. Was this a robbery for hire? Somebody hired 4 guys who are supposedly boosters to come up to do a job in Ohio. They had their hotel paid for. Somebody paid for the gas. Somebody rented the car, and they they were given a photo of where they were supposed to go and what door they were supposed to go to. And they were to bring the signal jammer that they used on other jobs to come and try to scramble the signal on their cell phones, or if there's an alarm. Now, we heard the alarm, so we know the signal jammer did not jam the alarm. Did it jam their phones? I doubt it. I doubt it seriously. And then don't forget, you got another guy in the car. Now, when this first happened, remember the Miami game? You had the owner of the Browns, right? You had the owner of the Browns with 4 people standing behind him that people thought were their grandkids, and people said, Haslam have Mexican grandkids. Well, the kid on the end to the left appears to be black, just fair-skinned with curly hair, Puerto Rican or something. The Haslams are also philanthropists. They do a lot of charity work. So maybe on this particular day, when Haslam went to the Miami Dolphins game, which is coincidentally the very first game that Bucky filmed, he brought along maybe some of the kids that work for him, that are the kids of some of the people that work for him, or maybe belong to one of the organizations that they do charity work for, and possibly bought them some jerseys. Because as you can see, the guy in the white jersey has a shirt over his shoulder like he just put this jersey on. Now, people immediately thought it was them, was zooming in on a guy's shoes, and there is some similarity here. We got the little short dude standing behind Haslam. Then we got the guy over to the right, and then we have the 2 that are about the same height, which is one of them is missing in action, and then there's the Xavier guy, right? It seems that the DeAndre's guy, they spelled his name wrong. His name might actually be DeAndre Jackson and not DeAndre's Jackson. So that's one bit of confusion. Xavier might actually be Xavier with an X and not with an E. That's another bit of confusion, right? Because I told you nothing turned up on these guys. And the only person who had any type of information on him with all 3 of them from the Decatur, not Atlanta, the Decatur, Georgia area, where they think the one that's missing is Jarvette, the driver, right? No social media for anybody else. No Instagram for Jarvette. Nothing for nobody else, whether their name was spelled right or wrong. You couldn't track these dudes down. And you know that they out there some kind of way, right? But Jarvette, the one that they got first, has a Facebook page, right? Now, when Jarvette was arrested in DeKalb County with a random traffic stop, he had thousands, plural, of dollars on him in cash. Now, mind you, he was arrested 10 days after the robbery. So did he get the cash from the robbery, or did he get the cash from fencing the goods that they took from Shedeur's house? Research on the internet indicates that boosters make about 50 cents to 30 cents on the dollar. So if the Louis Vuitton bag costs $5,000 at the store, I might give you $2,500, right? So that's the question, where you get all this cash from, right? And he had other stuff that they said he was going to intent to distribute with. And then forget, they supposedly came back 700 miles and robbed a random house in Brookhaven. Now, remember, the police said these guys get told where to go. So clearly, these guys robbed the Atlanta area, because as soon as they supposedly got back to Atlanta, they hit up somebody in Brookhaven. So it confirms that they are a robbery ring, which makes sense because somebody was using the signal jammer, and you don't just happen up on those. And then the Morris guy, Carlos Morris, that's still missing in action. Carlos Morris actually has been arrested for receiving stolen goods. But Jarvis, not so much. But he, the first person they caught, the person they've had in custody the longest, that might be the one that told them where to find the other 2. And then when they got the other 2, the 4th guy, Morris, ran off, or he never came back. Maybe he never came back to Georgia. But they say they think he's hiding out somewhere in DeKalb. Decatur, Georgia is not that big, right? So I learned some things about Jarvette really quickly. He liked to skate. He likes basketball. His page is like a lot of people's page on social media, because I have a lot of followers. They don't typically update the page. They don't post about themselves. They just kind of keep the account around, and they just go ahead and liking other people's posts. And, you know, they might say some things, or they might use it to DM, but they don't update their life. It's just a live account, and I could use the DM part of it, right? So Jarvis, being the only one of the four that have social media that you can find, I saw his page. And last night, I looked at his page and I was like, oh, he was so cute because they had pictures on there from when he was like 13 because he only 25. He was young. He could have been 14, could have been 15. And I was like, damn, this is when he was innocent. I wonder what happened, right? Then I just went on and he had 82 friends. So I looked at his 82 friends and we're talking about this guy right here, first to the left, facing all the way to the left. So there was pictures when he was younger. There's people in his family with his same last name. So you know it's his account. You can identify him with your eyes. And then the family members with the same last name. And they all from like maybe the Georgia, Savannah area. You know, they not from nowhere else, right? And then you can see the 82 friends, right? They went to places, the college like Kennesaw, or they worked at Forever 21, or they went to school in Georgia, Columbus, Georgia, right? No Harvard, no HBCUs. That was Penn State. Penn State was on there, but that wasn't anything that was live and active. They didn't have a photo. It wasn't updated, right? So I'm looking, I said, okay, he don't know a lot of people that are truly educated. Maybe when he finished high school, and I told you they had listed the name of his high school. Maybe when he finished high school, he just kind of fell into thievery, right? I don't know. So with that being the case, you know, looking at his family, you know, just kind of looking around and, you know, thinking, you know, okay, you know, these people, you know, they're not too well to do like that, right? You know, it's not a whole lot of MBAs and, you know, JDs and lawyers and doctors. That's not the set that he's in. And again, it's small schools. It's like Kennesaw State. This girl, she graduated and she go there, or she studied there, and somebody was Columbus, Georgia. You know, nothing too untoward. No Columbia University in New York, or no Georgetown, or no Howard, or no FAMU. Nothing on that level. We're talking small schools, right? So I'm looking and I see these three profiles, with two with no picture and one with a picture, and they say the University of Oregon, and that's for two. And then they say Oregon football. And I'm like, what? What the hell is happening here? The profiles are obviously the one that says D'Angelo Wallace, right? If you Google D'Angelo Wallace Atlanta, which is what they claim to be, that's a YouTube streamer from North Carolina who went to school at Our Lady of Lake. So it's fake. It's fake profile tied to the University of Oregon, right? They studied at the University of Oregon. What I learned about Facebook is you can't change your name all the time, right? But you can change where you studied at the University of Oregon 50 times a day, unlimited, if that's what you want to do. There's no cap on it. So I can use that as breadcrumbs, right? So I can use that to say, I'm so-and-so. My name might be real. Then again, my name is probably made up. But then Oregon football, that's just what I say. And then I got another one that's not real, and it's not a person tied to the university or a human being at all, just a fake name. And then it's the University of Oregon. And then there's another one, right? It's just the other one is a real YouTube streamer's name, but D'Angelo Wallace, the University of Oregon. And I think to myself, what the hell are the odds of that? What the hell are the odds of the driver of the getaway car that they got first, that they've had the longest in custody, to have three fake profiles? One say Oregon football, so you don't get it twisted. It's not basketball. It's not hockey. It's not soccer. It's football. And then the other two say the University of Oregon. And I'm like, what the hell are the odds of that? What the hell are the odds of the person that's arrested in this criminal activity first and the longest in custody having three fake profiles that you could communicate with, or I'm sorry, use as breadcrumbs so people know it's you? And it's tied to Oregon football, and you headed up to Ohio to rob Shedeur Sanders, who took the job of the quarterback from Oregon football, Dylan Gabriel. What's the odds of that? What's the odds of that? I mean, y'all let me know. What's the odds of that? What's the odds of that? What the hell is the odds of that? So I'm going all the way from Atlanta because I was hired to do a job in Ohio, and I'm going to rob the quarterback from Colorado that took the job the day he got robbed from the quarterback from Oregon football. Y'all follow me yet? So understand something here. I know they closed the case, okay? But they shouldn't have. There's no way that you should have knowing this, because I know if I looked this up last night, and y'all had gave us his name yesterday morning, and you had him in custody since November 26th, then how do you not know this? Everybody associated with this robbery should know that this exists. These are breadcrumbs or connections or both. Can you convince a jury that somebody who only knows people from Kennesaw, Columbus, Georgia, who likes basketball, and his friends went to Swag University and they like basketball, or they studied at the NBA, or they worked for the NBA, just randomly has 3 fake accounts with breadcrumbs to the University of Oregon, and they use Oregon football intentionally. And they happen to get robbed. They happen to get arrested after driving all the way to Cleveland to rob the quarterback who took his first start in the Baltimore Ravens game in the second half, after the quarterback from Oregon football got benched. Explain it. The fact that you can change those breadcrumb data multiple times, unlimited times, and the fact that you know that boosters don't advertise but need a way to identify themselves when the person is trying to reach out to them, because the boss say, hey, reach out to Jay. He gonna give you what you need. This is his name. Look him up on Facebook. How do I know it's him? You'll know. I'm searching. I'm looking at all of them. I open the one. I see the photo. And I see Oregon football. And then I see the University of Oregon twice. So I see 3 profiles. And I'm hiring you to rob Shedeur Sanders after he took Dylan Gabriel's job, and Dylan Gabriel was the quarterback for Oregon football. When a crime happens, police ask questions that are pretty standard. And regardless of the type of crime it is, you know what they ask you? Can you think of anybody who would want to do this? Can you think of anybody that would want to hurt you? So I'm going to ask y'all a question. Can you think of anybody that would want to run Shedeur Sanders off, or to hurt him, or to humiliate him? There's a few people that's going to come to mind. And why is that? Why is that? Because we watched since the spring, all the way through the summer, all the way through the fall, and at the beginning of the winter, we watched head coach Kevin Stefanski abuse Shedeur Sanders. And who was his puppet? Who was his pet? Dylan. And we watched Dylan partake. And what did Dylan's girlfriend say? Everybody in the building wants Dylan to play. So it shows you that there were people that was upset that Shedeur took Dylan's job. That is motive. That is motive to hurt Shedeur, because everybody in the building wants Dylan to play. So if everybody in the building wants Dylan to play, it's a lot of people in the building that's upset. And maybe somebody in the building had an idea to try to run off Shedeur. So they abused him. And Dylan talking about likes and clicks. And then you have the entire O-line letting him get hit. Then you have Jerry Jeudy intentionally dropping passes. Then, you got Dylan girlfriend talking about everybody wants Dylan to play. Don't forget, you got Blake Whiteheart crushing Shedeur's hand so he could not play. And don't forget, he got robbed of something that he likes, his bags. But they didn't get his jewelry, though. But he went there all the time and traveled with his bags. So who was jealous of Shedeur and why? Because everybody wants Dylan to play. Who are the profiles? What's the universities? On for the friends, on the profile for the getaway driver who robbed Shedeur Sanders' house. Oregon football. The University of Oregon. So that's breadcrumbs. Now let's talk about the connections. Were there 3 people who ponied up money to hire these guys? Because there's 3 profiles. Did you use Oregon football to make sure we understood that it was somebody that actually associated with Oregon football and not basketball and not hockey and not tennis? So you wanted us to know. And then you put the University of Oregon on the other 2 to make it kind of seem random. But all 3 together identified folks. And that's how I know I got the right person. Just look at his friends and you'll know. Then I hit you up in the DM. And I'm like, hey, I want to see if y'all available to do a job. What's the date? November 16th. Okay. We're going to pay for your hotel. We're going to pay for your gas. And we're going to get you a rental car. And then y'all could come up and we're going to let you know what time. You can kind of Google what time halftime is. 5:30. If the game starts at 4, it's 5:30. So they drove 22 hours. They arrived in the daytime. Did they take a nap and then go rob him? Because they called somebody. Hey, is he still going to play? Yeah. Who they called? Did they call their boss? Because they definitely had a photo of the door, so they were told where to go. So they were given instructions. See, when you're planning a crime on Facebook and you're using breadcrumbs to identify the people, you now have to communicate. Explain it. Otherwise, I now have to tell you the address. I now have to tell you how much I'm going to pay you. I now have to tell you where to go. You don't even need to know who you robbing. But clearly they did. So now I got to tell you who. I got to tell you where. I got to tell you what to get. How do they know he had those bags? Because the people inside the Browns organization know he had those bags. Because if I even have pictures of Shedeur traveling with those bags, somebody was jealous. So somebody had their job taken. Somebody didn't want him there at all because he was going to take had to go get the money. Somebody clearly knew somebody up there. They did. They knew whoever hired them to do the job, the drop point, the person. So the driver sits in the car while they do the robbery. This dude goes pick up the money and maybe he stays or find him another way back. Or maybe he rolled back with them and maybe he in Tennessee because he clearly ain't nowhere to be found, nor was he in that hotel. So yes, this was an inside job. Yes, it was a robbery for hire. They said they can't prove it, but they called somebody. And if you wanted to prove it, you could. And there's no way you can close the case in Ohio when you look at Jarvette's profile and you see the connection to Oregon football. The first person that should have came to your mind is Dylan Gable. That's the first person. It should have came to your mind whether you thought it was Dylan or not. But it just cannot be a coincidence that you go and commit a crime in the second half of the game when Dylan comes out, and there were people that knew Shedeur was going to play in this game. People reminded me earlier today that the Baltimore Ravens said they were preparing for Shedeur. I don't know, maybe they had a hunch that he was going to play. Coach Prime said he thought this would be the game. I mean, I kind of did too, but I was guessing. I was just thinking they was going to let Shedeur play Lamar and try to use that to devalue Shedeur, because that's what they did to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Maybe Coach Prime was guessing. Maybe the Ravens were guessing. But considering they seemingly faked an injury for Dylan to get out the game, there seems to be people that knew. And then there's this one detail that you can't get over. On this game, with Haslam, with these kids behind him, Bucky was his first game filming. And then there were 2 more games after that. And the 2 games after that, then it was the, excuse me one second. It was the Dolphins on October 19th. And that was in Cleveland. So that's a home game. Then Bucky makes the video and he puts it up. So I got Haslam with the 4 kids standing behind me. And then there's 4 robbers. They're very coincidental. Okay. That's a home game. Then they go on the road for 2 games. Pat Mahomes got robbed on the road at midnight. And they took his memorabilia and cash and all that. They didn't get that from Shedeur. They didn't get that from Shedeur. They just got bags, glasses, and totes. And they drove 22 hours to get it. And the Chilean organized ring that robbed Pat Mahomes is sitting in jail. So it wasn't them. And these guys don't typically rob people in Ohio, because when they got back 700 miles later, they robbed somebody in the area, Brookhaven. So that's what's said. I ain't seen no evidence of that yet, though. And supposedly they have been indicted for the robbery in Brookhaven and will be extradited to Ohio. So what it tells you is that, yes, they are a robbery ring. We don't know if it's always the 4 of them. We don't know if it's always the same 4 people, but somebody is always involved. It could be the guy with the signal jammer, or it could be the driver, the one they got first, the one that they've had in custody the longest, the one that has social media, and the rest of them seemingly do not. Not that it's easily identifiable. And if it's that damn hard to find, the client ain't gonna find it either. But Jarvette's the one that drove them there. You could find him. You could find his social media. You see the breadcrumbs. You see the connections. Oregon football. And on the way back, according to the police, they tell these guys where to go. Somebody told them to go to Brookhaven and rob somebody else. And that's what they indicted for first. Now, when Jarvette got stopped, he had thousands in cash. Did the cash come from the robbery in Cleveland? Did it come from the robbery in Brookhaven? Did it come from fixing the stolen goods from Shedeur's house? Jarvette is a basketball fan. His friends are basketball fans. Do you think he knew who Dylan was? Probably not. There are people that don't know who Shedeur is. Right? Because somebody could say, well, they saw the video. I'm like, okay, let's go down the avenue. At the Miami game, when Haslam had these 4 kids, behind him, seemingly showing support for Shedeur, because that's what people thought. Oh, he likes Shedeur. That's his grandkids. The one on the end is black. Puerto Rican black, that ain't his grandkids. But they do charity work. So that could be them or somebody else's kids. But he let y'all think that because nobody ever cleaned it up. Nobody ever cleaned that up. Nobody ever came. I mean, people were like, that's not his grandkids. Right? So let's go down the road of they saw the video. So Bucky films the first game. I told y'all then, this photo right here was a photo op to make people believe that Haslam supported Shedeur. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that there are 4 people standing behind him and that 4 people robbed Shedeur. I don't think that's coincident at all. I think if anything, this could be the first time you see how long the robbery was planned. And this is what I mean. So this is the Dolphins game, Bucky's first game filming. This is a home game. Then they leave for 2 games. They go to New England and they go to the Jets to New York. Those were away games, right? So then this gives me time from the Miami game, October 19th. We're away on the 26th of October and November the 5th or the 9th, November the 9th, okay? I had time to find who I need because I brought Bucky up here to get this photo op that I am for and support Shedeur. While they gone to 2 away games, New England, then the Jets. People thought Shedeur was going to get in with the Jets. I have time to reach out to somebody to find somebody to take care of something for me. And then when we come back to the Ravens game, the first home game since the Miami game that Bucky came up, Bucky's filming at home. No, he's not there. He's not at that game. He's not filming the Ravens game. And supposedly nobody knew Shedeur was going to play. And while Shedeur is playing an hour and a half after the game starts, like they left the hotel, stopped to get something to eat, went to find Shedeur's house, and robbed him an hour and a half into the game to make sure for sure he ain't finna leave and come home with a nosebleed because he's actively playing in the game. He gets robbed for 12 minutes. Home robberies last anywhere from 3 to 12 minutes, with 12 minutes being the longest. But let's understood, these 4 people drove 22 hours from Atlanta for 12 minutes with tote bags. Even the police, mostly the tote bags. So somebody hired these guys to take something from Shedeur because they were jealous of him. And when Jarvette gets caught, he's caught with thousands in cash, and he apparently has stolen merchandise. They didn't say whose it was. Now, if you didn't know about the robbery in Brookhaven, and it's still hearsay till I see some evidence. If you didn't know about that robbery, you would think the cash came from being paid for Shedeur's robbery or fixing the stolen goods from Shedeur's robbery, or both. If you say they saw the video after the Miami game and they waited till they came back to a home game, bullshit. They saw the video. They would have took opportunity to rob him when they were away out of town, like Pat Mahomes got robbed. And they would have took memorabilia. They would have took some of them shoes. They would have took some of them jerseys. They would have took everything. Like they would have took the same stuff they took from Pat Mahomes. They did not. They took his bags. 22 hours. You ain't get no memorabilia. You ain't get all them shoes. You didn't get that pew-pew back there. And all of them were caught with weapons, but you didn't get that one. Somebody told you what to get. And they told you to clean out the contents of his nightstand. And you didn't leave apparently right away. So did you drop off the contents of the nightstand and pick up the money? Or did you pick up the money first? Or did you, when you first got the time and it was daylight and the 4th guy that we still can't find, did he go meet up with the people that hired you and y'all talked about what you was going to do? You got the address in person, because you don't want to be texting all that stuff. You don't want to be texting pictures of the house, and maybe you got all of that stuff, or maybe they gave you the address and you cased the joint. But you had to go let the people know you made it and figure out what the plan is. And as an hour and a half into the game, at 6:46, when people are eating dinner in that neighborhood, not sleep like with Pat Mahomes' robbery, you go in the house for 12 minutes. You hear the alarm go off, but you don't even blink. You don't even stop. You don't even hurry. You weren't in and out in 3 minutes. You didn't take no laptops. You didn't get no jewelry. You didn't get much, but you did get the contents of his nightstand. And then you went back to the hotel. So somebody paid for 2 nights. You went back to the hotel, you put all your stuff together, you gave whoever the people that hired you, whatever they wanted from you, maybe the contents of the nightstands, you got your money. Then you got up and you drove 11 hours back, 700 miles, and you went on the next job, which was in Brookhaven. The fact that you would drive 11 hours back, 700 miles to do a job in the area where you live tells me that that's where you commit most of your crimes. You weren't the people that robbed Myles Garrett. You weren't the people that robbed Joe Burrows. You weren't the people that robbed Simmons from the Tennessee Titans. You are the people that robbed Joe Blow in Brookhaven. And somebody knew that. So they hired you to do a job out of town because they wanted to make sure that nobody could, like you could tell somebody in the area, or maybe they wanted it to seem personal. You know what people are putting together? People are saying, damn, this is just like the prank. They said it was the Atlanta Falcons. It wasn't. It was a cover-up. They scapegoated the Atlanta Falcons. Why? Because they wanted you to think it was personal. And here we go again. I'm hiring people from Atlanta. So you could think it's random. You're covering. The question is, who you covering for? Well, like the police say, who would want to hurt you? Is it this man right here who said he didn't want you on his team? And he's standing behind him 4 dudes wearing your jerseys knowing he don't support you? Knowing he allowed the head coach to abuse you, allow you to get hurt, didn't even want to fire the head coach who was humiliating you. Your teammate crushed your finger. Nobody wanted to talk about it. That was so you could come out the game and Dylan could get back in. Then that leads to the head coach. People on Reddit think it was Stefanski. How many profiles were there? 3. Oregon football and 2 overall, the University of Oregon. Haslam, Stefanski, Dylan, or somebody else. And that, the breadcrumbs were to identify the robbery, the job that we're supposed to do. Explain. I told y'all what was on the screen when it happened was a photo op. We know Haslam don't want Shedeur there. We said it. That wasn't my pick. He was right. It wasn't. It wasn't Andrew Berry's either. That was a lie. Andrew Berry used his connections to try to get Shedeur away from Cleveland, Philly, and Baltimore. And it didn't work. And Shedeur had the audacity to still want to come to Cleveland. And you saw them mistreat him. We don't want you. We don't value you. And even with Stefanski gone, it's already happening again. So that tells you that Stefanski was following orders. Yes, it does. Which is why Haslam was so enthusiastic and optimistic that the guy he fired for failing would get another job because he knows where the bodies are buried. I wonder if Dylan knows where the bodies are buried because everything is pointing at Dylan. And if I didn't do it, I'd be goddamn. Y'all ain't finna set me up. They already set up Shedeur. They could have said the University of Colorado to just identify the job. They ain't do that. They used Oregon football and the University of Oregon. That was intentional. And you can change that tomorrow. I can say something else. That was intentional. Is it intentional? Because if I get picked up, I know social media gonna come over here and look. Think about the police and how They've been had this Jarvik guy since the 26th of November. And we just not hearing about it at the same time they tell us the case is closed. Well, if you look at his social media, they no way the case is closed. And then nobody else have social media. And his social media point back to Oregon football. If you Google who currently plays for the Cleveland Browns from Oregon football, it's Dylan Gabriel. And then that's the person who lost their job at Shedeur's hand. And then when Blake Whiteheart crushed Shedeur's hand, his finger, the reporter says, can you still throw? He said, if I could throw, I wouldn't be back out here. They tried to put Dylan in. They put Dylan in. What happened? The fans wasn't having it. So Shedeur went back. Seemed like to me there was a lot of effort by a lot of the offensive players, the entire O-line. Stefanski refused to make adjustments. Haslam didn't hold him accountable. Haslam said we could have won more than 5 games. Well, why you didn't fire Stefanski? I told y'all, if Stefanski still has a job, because he has a job to do, it was to suppress Shedeur, which is why they talking about Harbaugh coming in, because he suppressed Lamar. Come over here and do it. Who is the first person they wanted to hire? Monken, who set up Lamar. So everybody that set up Lamar, they want to come to Cleveland. They already talking about, don't be surprised if you see Deshaun Watson. I'm like, yeah, anything to stop Shedeur. And they already tried it with Trinidad Shambliss. Talking about he a day 2 quarterback. That's some bullshit. Anything to suppress Shedeur. Anything to humiliate Shedeur. Anything to harass Shedeur. Look at Jerry Jeudy. Look at Jerry Jeudy. What if he hired them? What if he was part of the group that hired them? And when they get caught, don't look at me. Look at Dylan. Or maybe they was all in on it together. Because as soon as the game was over, while Jerry Jeudy was either in the locker room or sitting in his car in the parking lot, he posted, ha, if y'all only knew. What the hell are he talking about? The Shedeur comes off the field happy, but when he gets to the podium, he shook. So what? Did they present him with something that was stolen from his house? And he shook because, oh shit. Think about how Jerry Jeudy kept sitting underneath Shedeur, sitting next to Shedeur. That was to intimidate him. That was to harass him. Because Jerry Jeudy showed you in practice what he was going to do, and he did it. And what did Tommy Rees say? I love Jerry Jeudy. We're going to feature him more, even though he was failing. So like Stefanski was failing up, they kept letting Jerry Jeudy fail. And you saw Tommy Rees when Shedeur was mic'd up, asking about the weather in Colorado after he said, I like Jerry Jeudy. We're going to keep featuring him. So Tommy Rees is not to be trusted. And they want to interview him for the job. Anybody to come in to suppress Shedeur because they don't want him there. Not only did Shedeur take Dylan's job, Shedeur is a threat to take Arch Manning's job. Why you think Trinidad Shambliss didn't get his waiver approved? But that's okay. He declared for the damn draft anyway. But they still suing the NCAA over $5 million. Because they already trying to take Trinidad Shambliss and devalue him like they did Shedeur. And all because they wanted to reserve a space on the Cleveland Browns for Arch Manning. So when Shedeur showed up, he threatened that. Because Haslam know, like the fans showed him, if you put somebody out here other than Shedeur, we going to boo the hell out of him and not come. Did that not happen? So they're mad at Shedeur because he made a decision for himself to go to the team that pre-draft with him extensively. Now, y'all said y'all was going to get me at number 2, so I'm coming over here. Yeah, Andrew Berry used his former boss. He used his brother in Philly and Baltimore, respectively, to try to send Shedeur over there. That's how much they didn't want him. People talking about Stefanski didn't want Shedeur there. He sure didn't, because they got Dylan so they could fail. So they used Dylan against Shedeur, and guess what? Our roads on the getaway drivers' social media points at Dylan, whether he did it or not. How you like that for gratitude? Let me see what y'all are saying. I want to play this. I want y'all to identify this song. Identify this song for me.
Oh, everything is up. It is good. 10:39 remaining. Here in the second quarter of play, your new score, all of you at AW Comfort Stadium, the Jaguars 7, the Tigers 3.
What's the name of the song? Drop it in the chat.
AW Comfort Stadium, you can feel the molecular structure interlude. Kickoff return for Texas Southern. Very cool.
All right, so let's see what y'all came up with for Name That Song. Drop it in the chat. Even if you're watching the replay, drop it in the chat. Name the song that was just playing. Shout out to Southern University, the Human Jukebox. All right, so I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to give y'all time to name that song. I'm heading over to the comments to see what y'all thinking. Again, explain it, explain how it is the driver, who they say is a career criminal booster with a bunch of other people, how it is that the driver that was arrested first, that has been in custody the longest, had 3 breadcrumbs pointing to Oregon football and the University of Oregon on his page. An area of the page that can be changed multiple times so people can identify you when they want to hire you to commit a crime. All right, so let's see. Let me know what the name of the song is if you're watching it. And let's see. All right, so hey Tina, welcome back. I'm headed over to the comments, everybody. Hey Miss D, hey, how you doing? Hey Clyde, I agree. Hey Pringle, the actor, welcome back. Hit the like button. Another great show, facts. Hello everyone. Hey Peter, hey Reddick, how you doing? Wrist up. Indiana won 45-18. All right, I hope Dante Moore go back to school. Good Friday night live. Yes, happy Friday night. Let's go. Crumb table. That's what it is. We're talking about breadcrumbs and connections. If you're just not joining us, go back and catch the replay. Don't want to miss it, right? So I shared, if you're just not joining us, from the getaway driver, Jarvik Merrick's page. I shared there's some fake profiles there or some profiles there. One of them for sure is fake, and the other 2, they seemingly are changing the names of where they studied and things like that you can already change to show who it is that the client is hiring by putting Oregon football and by putting the University of Oregon. So it's on there 3 times. You make no mistake about that you have the right person that somebody gave you the contact for. Hey, reach out to Jay on social media. This is his first and last name. You know you'll have the right person. Look at his friends, and you're going to see what lets you know you have the right person. All right, I said it. There's absolutely no way to justify the getaway driver of the robbery against Shedeur Sanders after, especially during the game where Bucky wasn't there and Shedeur took over for Dylan, and the robbers have breadcrumbs on their page for Oregon football and the University of Oregon. Yeah, you can't tie all of that together and explain it. All right, how you doing, Sharon? How you doing, Kay? It said those men are standing behind Haslam, a side of them not being on his level. Right, and they're not on his level. People said that's his grandkids. Haslam is a billionaire. Them not his grandkids. And the one on the left, I think, is black. No, and it's funny how they got a little short one, and then the other two are actually about the same height. Like, I was looking at these guys, right? The one on the far right seems to be the driver, right? The short one seems to be the one directly behind Haslam. Then you got the other two. These two seem to be about the same height. If you look at the video, the one with the signal jammer and another guy were about the same height. What people pointed out about, and the fact that you can't find this guy, and he wasn't at the hotel, it's just a lot of things that are very interesting. And they closed the case knowing that, I know they know Jarvis had that on his page. And I know they know boosters use social media to communicate when people want to hire them for a job. Because how are you a robbery ring and you can say that these guys are told where to go because they have a boss, right? If you have a boss is like, reach out to Jay. He gonna get you what you need. This is first and last name. Go to social media, and it's people follow me. They have one zero. Sometimes they have one sub. They have one subscriber, and they have 0 posts. They still using it though. So people do this all the time, right? And it's documented. They use their social media accounts, the DM section, the messenger section. That's how they communicate. If I want to get 48 boosters to get together and rob Macy's, how the hell you think I'm gonna get them together? First of all, word of mouth to find somebody that knows some boosters. That's number one. Number two, they need 40 boosters. How you think they're gonna communicate? What? Can you come boost at Macy's in Seattle at Thursday on 2:30? They gotta communicate. And they not stupid enough to use their cell phones. And ain't nobody going out here and buying no damn boosters, no burners no more. They using social media to communicate. Hey, you down Thursday at 2:30. They know what they talking about because they know who asking the question. They know what the person that's asking them if they down does. So they yes or no. And if I got to get 4 people together to come all the way from Atlanta, they ain't doing that shit for free. And when Jarvis got busted, he had thousands in cash. So how much they get paid for coming all the way to Ohio, since that ain't the area that they rob? And in some respects, I feel like the police trying to tell that ain't their area, because he was asked, did they rob anybody else in Ohio? Did they rob Miles Garrett? He said no. But on the way back to Atlanta, or Decatur, because they're not from Atlanta. Let's clear that up. They from Decatur. On the way back to Decatur, where they got arrested, they stopped in Brookhaven in the same clothes, apparently, and robbed some no-name person. So that's where they do they robbing at. But the money that they got paid for the Ohio job must have been good as hell for them to come all the way up there for 12 minutes to get some bags and clean out the contents of Sanders' nightstand and throw his clothes on the floor and ransack his bedroom. That was personal. And they use people from Atlanta because it was personal. And I want people as far away as possible. So if you look in the surrounding area, and I think they want Shedeur to know it. Who you know got money to burn like that? Athletes. And they always have cash. You see? But they ain't get no cash from Shedeur. But they got some cash from somebody. So maybe if they find the one that's missing, maybe he was the one that went to pick up the money, because he sure wasn't at that hotel. This is an inside job. Somebody in the Browns organization paid to have 4 men come from Atlanta to rob Shedeur at a time when Bucky would not be there. After Haslam showed his support from Shedeur at a home game for Miami, common sense would have said to rob him while they got 2 away games. Y'all come up here, they're going to be out of town. That's why they robbed Pat Mahomes like that. He wasn't there. But no, you want to rob him when he making his first debut. That's personal. And whose job did he take? Dylan. And who did the breadcrumbs point to? Dylan. Who that damn jealous that Shedeur took Dylan's job, that they willing to hire 4 black dudes from Atlanta? I'm sorry, from Decatur. Think about it. That's the motive. And I'm thinking, okay, sure. You want to say logic. You want me to believe that Dylan was upset, so somebody he know and somebody he know wanted Dylan to get his job back. Then it could have been Stefanski. Maybe he wanted Dylan to get his job back because he damn sure was trying to get him back out there. Then again, maybe it was Haslam because he don't want to do that at all. And he allowed Stefanski to abuse Shedeur, who took Dylan's job. Maybe it's all three. There's a reason why they said Oregon football and the University of Oregon. One is direct, the other two are overall. So, you can't close the case with that kind of information. They said those men are standing behind Haslam and a sign of them not being on his level. Right. And them kids, they kids. It said, wonder if these boosters are red laser ready. I don't know. It said they were there for the optics. Right. I said that. I said, it's giving optics. And that was before Shedeur got robbed. That was before Shedeur got robbed. And anybody that would have saw that video, and what did I tell y'all? I said, I looked at the video. YouTube shows you the most watched views. It was Bucky's face and it was Florida's face. Why do if I'm being hired to drive up from Atlanta and Shedeur's playing in the game, why do I need to know what Bucky looked like? Why do I need to know what Florida looked like? Who are they? I got to make sure if I go case the joint, I know who the hell I'm looking at. And they didn't want to ask nobody in Cleveland to do it because they figured if they got busted, they would have told. But they made it federal. And whoever did it clearly don't understand technology. They clearly don't understand flock cameras. It said that missing dude is probably taking a dirt nap in order to tie up the loose ends. That's what I'm saying. Because they said, oh, he's armed and dangerous. I'm like, well, you know what that means. It's funny how they didn't take that AK though, huh? They didn't take that pew-pew. I mean, you think they would have took that and sold it like that. That's just, it's like they had a shopping list. And it was all about the bags. All of them bags weren't even Louis bags. That's the crazy part. It said out of the alleged 4 perpetrators, who will sing first? The one that they had the longest? The one that they had the longest is how they got the other 2. And when I think they got the other 2, the other one must have took off or he never came back. There's something about him. Hell, he might be in the military for all we know. I'm just saying, that situation, they say he in DeKalb. I don't know why they keep saying Atlanta when they know Decatur is not Atlanta. I don't know. That's just somewhere else totally different, right? Decatur is not Atlanta. I mean, yeah, you could drive from Atlanta to get there, right? But it's not Atlanta. I think what happened is somebody rented the car for them from Atlanta. And because the police were careful not to say somebody rented the car for them, they said it. Somebody else rented the car and then they got it. So they didn't even want to tell you that because they closed the case so they don't have to look into that. Or maybe because that was in Atlanta, they like, well, screw that. I don't know. We don't need to look into that. But there's no way you can close the case looking at Jarvette's page. You can't do that because it points to somebody that actually works in Ohio. And Shedeur did take his job. He does have motive. Yeah. And what did his girlfriend say? They were so pissed off, his girlfriend went on the damn internet talking about it. Well, everybody wants Dylan to play. You see why you need to shut up sometime? Because now how we know you ain't doing it? Somebody did it. And it's not a coincidence it points to Oregon. And not a coincidence his girlfriend was on the internet trying to throw Shedeur under the goddamn bus. And not a coincidence on how Stefanski was allowing him to be hit, allowing Blakehart to rip his fingernail off so he could not on his throwing hand so he can't throw. It's like they were trying everything to get Dylan back in and Shedeur out. Just as extreme as the people who were pissed that Coach Prime flipped Travis Hunter from a PWI. Do you know how extreme it was to get Coach Prime to come to a PWI to bring Travis back from an HBCU to a PWI and then to kick Coach Prime down in the dirt after Travis is gone? It's the same kind of hatred. It's the same level of extremity because you took something from me that I didn't want you to have in the first place. That's evil. And Haslam don't want Shedeur there. And he let Shedeur be abused by Stefanski. And Stefanski wanted Dylan in. And Dylan's girlfriend let all of us know. That's how a lot of people felt. And she was right, because look at how the majority of the offense treated Shedeur. So you need to reopen that damn case and start looking inside Berea. And I said a long time ago, the activities happening to suppress Shedeur Sanders and Berea are criminal. And I also said, don't fool around and catch a RICO. You do know this kind of interstate robbery ring, organized crime is a RICO. Yeah. They was already intimidating people. I already said they was committing racketeering. And here we are. And then the police up there closed the case. Well, it's federal. Let's see what happens. Because you cannot ignore Jarvet's page. That's on there for a reason. It said Queen is on it like a hornet. Facts. It said, yes, sis, give us the information. Thank you. You're welcome. It said Oregon getting a beat down right now. Dan Lanning reaping what he has sown. Facts. And here, maybe it's him. It's somebody, just like the police say, who would want you gone? Who would want you hurt? Who would do this to you? The people I work with. And for the police to know that that's a standard question and what the answer is, because they know what's happening over there in Berea too, for them to close the case is very suspicious when you have more digging to do. But it's like the police don't want to dig in Berea, which is why they put the information out when Shedeur, they were already gone. And because they got this robbery and they was indicted in Brookhaven, we're going to rest our hands for it. How can you when somebody's still on the large? They said they issued arrest for his warrant. Who? Ohio? Because that's who should have issued the arrest warrant. So, and they're going to extradite the others or all of them at some point. So you can't close the case. You let us know when Cleveland was done with their business, not the season, business. So everybody's dispersed. So if they had evidence, maybe they threw it in the trash. Thank God for the cloud. Because you can't throw that away. This is huge. This is the makings of a RICO. Whether it's for the boosters or for the people who found the boosters or for the people who hired the boosters. There is motive in Berea. And you just have to know that. Let's see how long that page stay up, because I'm shocked it was still up anyway. It said Dan Lanning, ducks looking like a lame duck tonight. Burner account. Yeah, it's funny. He didn't have a burner, but the other was clearly must, because they are nowhere to be found. He didn't have a burner. That's his page. I think his aunt mama or his auntie on there. That's his page. It said, if you want something investigated, please get a black woman to do it. I know that's right. It said, yes, about Landon Karma from Colorado game with his smart mouth. Yep. It said, I hope Dante Moore goes back to school. I sent him a message. I said, Dante, go back to school. Right after we heard the NCAA deny Chambliss. Chambliss is a dog. He declared for the draft. Let's see what happened. Again, this might be where the NFL blow up, because everybody see what's happening. See, they want to say it was Shedeur. Coach Prime ain't Trinidad Daddy. So here we go again. This is a black quarterback. That's really what it's about. Racism. So if the NFL want to play that game, they're going to get busted too. They're going to get busted. But I told y'all, Haslam going to fool around, and he going to catch a RICO, and he going to be forced to sell that team, because the only reason I think they closed that case is because they know what's on Jarvet's page. And they like, The people up there don't want to do with it, because they know, these people already know each other. So they're like, let's give it to these other people. And they had 8 agencies involved, including the Secret Service. Really? Really? Yeah, you can't close that case if you're going to bring them back up there. Or you're supposed to issue a warrant for them. How you close the case if you issued the warrant? What, you just going to issue the warrant and don't care about it? And you know you extraditing them back up here. It's like you're saying we're not looking at anybody else. It's like they don't want to look at anybody else. You can't look at Jarvet's page and not look at people in Berea. And you can't ignore this photo. And I think that's why the Secret Service involved, because somebody don't want it to get here. This was a photo op when they decided to let Bucky film, because before he wasn't invited to film. He only came to film when this photo op was happening. And they didn't let him come when Shedeur was being robbed. That's the biggest tell. It's an inside job. Because Shedeur took Dylan's job, and they don't want Shedeur there. And somebody jealous and they want him gone. That's what that is. Motive. And you can't close the case when you have that kind of motive. And if I found this yesterday, 8 hours after you dropped their names, then you know this out here. That ain't right, bro. Yes, dropping facts. It said there are always crumbs left. Absolutely. Bye, Dan Landon. That's what I say. That's what I say. 1,000,000 to 1. Thank you. 1,000,000 to 1 chance. And we know coincidences ain't coincidence, but that ain't even a coincidence. That's the crazy part. It said, Oregon got the tail whip tonight. If it quacks like a duck, and it's a damn duck. Too many dots connecting here, right? And why nobody else talked about this? Because they don't want to talk about it. Because you know why? How many profiles was it? 3. I bet you at the end of the day, 3 people ponied up the money. That's why Jarvette was caught with thousands in cash. If Jarvette had thousands, how much you think the other people had that actually went in the house? He was a driver. He waited in the car and had thousands. How much you think the people that went in the house got? Or did they just split it down the middle? Was it 50K split 4 ways? If the driver had thousands, how much did the people who went in the house got? Thousands, plural. Madam Colombo, I'll take it. It says Stefanski, Landon, and Dylan need to have a conversation during golf. Don't forget, Haslam need to be in there too. I told y'all how many times you heard me say a long time ago, Haslam don't get a pass. This is what I mean. You have to look at this photo stunt. You have to know this is when Bucky first started. You have to know, and you have to take into consideration he wasn't either invited back or he was conveniently absent while Shedeur was being robbed. You cannot ignore the fact that when you look at that video Bucky put out there, that they spent most of their time looking at Florida's face and Bucky's face, and they didn't give a shit about what was in that closet. Which is why they ain't take a lot of that stuff, because we ain't come here for that. You can't close the case and not investigate Berea. And I think they don't want to. And that's a shame, because Shedeur has had to be harassed, humiliated, and harmed by these damn people and discriminated against, and you need to look at this. Hired. Dillard is from the University of Oregon. Pac-Man Jones said, we know who you are. Nola, you're a forensic expert. Right, keep digging. Thank you, Mama Tia. It said, I'm going to call this case the Oregon Trail. Oh, that's a good name for it. Watching Shedeur as he gets things right. It said, but him trying to deal with mean, hateful, and sabotage people is one hell of a fight. Right. And do not forget, Haslam allowed Stefanski to humiliate, harm, harass, discriminate, devalue Shedeur, and Andrew Berry tried to ship him out. They thought they was done. They bait and switch and cut him. That's what they thought. And they pissed that he came over there. I'm proud of Shedeur. That took a lot of courage. I don't know if I would have went there when they didn't want me. I'd be like, the hell with you. He like, Trinidad ain't no different. Just keep paying attention. Just keep paying attention. That kid was a D2 kid and came and balled out in college football. And now NCAA seemingly probably working with the NFL so they can pave the way for the Manning kid to come out number 1, because this is the year they shunning black quarterbacks. Well, guess what? Let the Manning kid come out this year. Or let him come out next year. Trinidad gonna be right there. And I want to see you do to Trinidad what you did with Shedeur, because all this shit gonna blow up. Right now, we talking about the Browns, but we could circle back to Shedeur's draft when it comes to Trinidad draft. And I said I wasn't watching it. I'm gonna be keeping I told y'all, I ride for that kid. And they already trying to screw him over, like they already in Cleveland trying to screw Shedeur over, and they all being screwed over for the Manning kid. All the black quarterbacks being screwed over so the Manning kid could get ahead of them. It said Batonio was the ringleader. Yeah, I don't know who the ringleader was. Yeah, on offense he was. But Jerry Jeudy was the ringleader for the wide receivers. Batonio, the ringleader for offense. The tight end ringleader was Blake Whiteheart. And who did Stefanski move out the way? Harold Fannin Jr. and Njoku. So he could get in Blake Whiteheart to crush Shedeur finger and throwing hand on his throwing hand, so he can't play. That's exactly what they did to Anthony Richardson. They crushed his, dislocated his pinky. Who got his job? You see? It said, ain't it something? They waited until Kevin Stefanski part ways to disclose. Facts. Also, the driver knows all. Facts, because they got him first. And think about it. The driver probably knows the person because the car was rented and given to them. So he picked it up. That's why he stayed in the car. Think about gang activity for a second, right? They always get minions to do the work, right? Who did they get first? Who have they had the longest? When they got Jarvette, then they got the other two, and maybe that's when the other one ran off. I don't know. They shouldn't have closed that case. They closed that case, and they put the information out late and closed the case at the same time, so they don't have to look at Berea. That's why they let them get away. If you let them get away, you know what's going on in Berea. This gonna roll up somewhere. This gonna have some blowback somewhere. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but it's gonna blow back somewhere because there's no way you saw Jarvette's page. They use social media to catch thieves. Think about this for a minute. I use flight cameras to track down the car. How the hell did I know who was in it? Oh, that's right. I probably use AI facial recognition from the hotel. So if I did that and I got a hit on his name, I went to his social media. I saw his page. I looked at his friends and I saw that Oregon connection, and I shut this case down at the end of not the season, but of business, because I realized it's an inside job, and I let these people get away because we don't want to be the ones to take them down. And maybe that's why all of these other federal agencies are out there. And now with telling people that they went back 700 miles to rob somebody else, you confirm it's a robbery ring. You confirm they don't commit crimes in Ohio. You confirm that it's a RICO. They crossed state lines for this. But you saw Jarvette's page. I'm surprised it's still up there. Maybe because it was the pictures of him when he was young. I don't know. But I think that's why they might have closed the case, because they figured out what was going on inside. It said 20 million followers and counting. I know that's all right. They need to stop playing. It said they navigate all the way from Atlanta. Yep. And it's not Atlanta, it's Decatur. It said Batonio 68 and Jeudy are the culprits. Somebody is. I'm quite sure the perpetrators were in contact with somebody that attended the game. Yeah, that's very possible. The players that play in the game, you mean? They probably called them at halftime. They know what time halftime is. You can look it up. The game runs the same, maybe a few minutes here or there. I think it said halftime the second half started at 5:28 or 5:30. That's going to be the variance, unless somebody's injured and on the field for 30 minutes. But it don't work like that. That's why these games have a start time and an end time. Just about, they know. They know what time the second half was going to start. And I said it. So they didn't rob them in the first half. They robbed them at 6:46, not at midnight when everybody's sleep. They robbed him while he was playing in the game. It's like, think about what I said. While he playing in a game, right? He's playing in a game that they didn't want him to play in at the road QB1. They didn't want him to play, and he had to relieve Dillard. They knew that was going to happen. I think they just didn't want to announce it so fans could get excited to see Shedeur versus Lamar. That's exactly what I said when it happened. So you mad, and you doing things begrudgingly, so you're hurting him. And think about the end of the game. He won that game, end of the season, QB1, after they crushed his hand, his throwing hand, and ripped the nail off. That ain't easy to do. And Joe Burrow was congratulating him. He's finally getting his just due. People coming over the field congratulating him. He ends the season on a win. They don't want that because they don't want him to be the guy next year, but they don't want to trade him either. So I want to devalue you. Like I'm going to try to do Trinidad. That's why they forced Trinidad to come out. One, so he will be competition for the Manny kid next year. And two, they going to devalue him. Pay attention. This kid is a dog. People talking about Trinidad, they ain't even talking about Carson Beck like that. I mean, they say he did good, but they just wild away by Trinidad. Like they was wild away by Malik Willis. Like they wild away by Shedeur Sanders. The NFL don't want people to be wild no more. They want people to be Dylan. And when you're Shedeur and we didn't want you and you decide to come over here, when Andrew Berry tried to find somewhere else for you to go, we going to show you. And that's what they've been doing. That's what they've been doing. And every moment he gets to shine, they try to destroy it. Think about Kevin Stefanski and them Wildcats. Shedeur putting up 393 yards, but you take him out the game for some raggedy Wildcats. It's an inside job. And it's not just one person. Hence the 3 profiles. It said Dylan is the only player on the Browns roster that went to the University of Oregon. There you go. There you go. It says score 56-15, more than a beatdown, a massacre. It said what Dylan's girlfriend said, the locker room, they won't groan, lying by any means necessary. Nola talk about Dylan was not shown on the bench or the sideline. Judy knows. I'm not saying he was in on it. Yeah, no, you're right about no, right? You're right. Here's the thing. This was done by multiple people and other people know. Yes. And I think the police know, which is why they closed the case so they don't have to investigate Berea. They could have said this. You had Jarvette since November 26th. This been on his social media since November 26th. And you closed the case with that info? That kid don't even like football. Him and his friends like basketball. That's how you know they were hired to do the job. And it must have been lucrative for them to drive 22 hours. Crazy the police didn't talk about that, but he knew. These guys get told where to go because the job was lucrative. Hell, Jarvette could have been the leader. It's funny how they got him first. It wasn't his car. Did they follow it with the flock cameras? And when they use facial recognition, I know they used his social media. And you see, they didn't mention none of that. They use social media 80% of the time to catch criminals. It's documented. 80. That's where they go first nowadays. It says Secret Service provided intel. Yep. It said Indiana beat Oregon 56-15. Lord have mercy. Mendoza to the Raiders. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. Or Shedeur to the Raiders and Mendoza going somewhere else. This is a darn ridiculous shame. Hate is the poison. That's what it is. Poison of the Green Giant. This is bigger than Shedeur. This is inside crime. This could have ended up possibly being a hate crime. Right. This is a RICO. This is a RICO. I can't wait to run across one of my videos where I say half are going to catch a RICO and be forced to sell this team. You already see they're blocking that stadium. They blocking the money for the stadium. They know. I know they know. And I think the Sanders know too. It said, Nola girl. It said, these guys do not match the same robbers at the house. That's what people keep saying. That's what people keep saying. It said, why the perpetrators don't go and try to rob Bezos, Musk, Zuckerberg instead of the players. I mean, here's what I want to know. Why these 3 didn't go rob somebody for the Tennessee Titans, somebody for the Kansas City Chiefs, or the Chicago Bears? Why Shedeur? Because he took Dylan's job and you got Oregon on your page. Come on, bro. Not Oregon basketball. Oregon football. You're telling. You're telling. Look at Dylan. And I don't know about boosters. I don't know if they have like some kind of insurance policy where if they get caught, they ain't going down by themselves. So they put shit out there so you can know they hired us. That's what it's giving. That's what it's given. Or he just forgot to clean his page, but I'm shocked it's still there. The Ohio authorities the same. This is more than a robbery ring. Yeah, it's a ring. This is a RICO. It said Indiana gave Oregon a beating like they did Colorado. It said, girl, you speaking facts. We are on the same page. Yeah. Slick stuff again. Yeah. It said these four guys will have them look like the robbers. Right. Because people keep saying they felt like one of the guys by the way he was walking. They say, yeah, we just move a little different. I'm like, we also dress different. So when the guy from Brookhaven said these guys robbed me, I'm like, I need to see evidence of that. They got indicted, but I kept looking. I looked in arrests in Brookhaven. It was a car thief ring. There's a ring of car thieves that got arrested at night. Then somebody got arrested somewhere else. But when you look up some of the other stuff that happened, burglary ring activity, they're in the burglary ring. It says right here, it said you can go to the Brookhaven police. They talk about all the robberies that happened in November, and that what the one at the dude house wasn't on there. So I don't know what the hell they telling us that they robbed this man the same night after they drove back 700 miles, and people like, we ain't even sure they drove all the way there anyway. I think they did. It just wasn't for free. I think it was for a substantial amount of money, which is why Jarvette had thousands. And if he committed the crime with four other people, you don't think they had thousands? Hell, they the ones that went in that house. He just drove the damn car. If he had thousands and he drove, how much you think the ones got that went in the house? That's why I say that. They made some money. That's why they took the trip. They don't go nowhere else to rob people. It's wealthy people all over Atlanta. They ain't never got to leave. That's what people said. You went to Shedeur house for some Louis bags? What? Oh, yeah. He got caught with thousands. Thousands. And it was four of them. So they got thousands too. And when did they get paid? And how did they communicate how they was going to get paid? How did they get the address? How did they get the photo of the house? They not from here. They ain't never been there. How I know which door to go to? And why the media lied and said the door was open like Shedeur is careless or is somebody in his camp? And then Bucky wasn't there. I ain't gonna never get off of that. And I ain't gonna never get off this picture right here. So what a coincidence. I got four dudes that robbed his house on the next home game that Bucky wasn't there, but you let him come to this one and get the photo out. You also let Stefanski abuse Shedeur. People talking about Dylan and Stefanski, but y'all know who y'all need to be talking about? Haslam, because he the one don't want Shedeur there, period, because of the Manning kid. That's why everybody he trying to hire already destroyed Lamar. It said, well, Dylan also could be the bait. I'm open to it all. Jealousy is the green giant. It said Judy Dirt Driver. It said they were all Vegas and haters. Vegas? What you mean by Vegas? It said the NFL might not help Haslam if things get too hot for him in this situation. They gonna turn on him. They gonna turn on him. Don't be surprised if one of Trump's friends get the team. They gonna turn on him. Watch what I tell you. If he did this without them knowing, they gonna turn on him. And if he did this with their help, they still gonna turn on him. Didn't he fire Stefanski? Did he want to fire Stefanski? Then the same thing. I don't want to fire you, but I'm gonna have to let you go. I don't want you to be forced to sell your team, but we got to let you go because you're going to get all of us burned. Yeah, it's the same thing. He did not want to fire Haslam. Look at how they were going to the players at the last minute. Now, at some point, you have to understand, Shedeur learned about this, right? Shedeur learned about that they closed the case and whatnot. And when did Shedeur learn Jarvette's name? Has him or anybody in his camp gone to Jarvette's page, clicked on the friends, and saw Oregon? I believe Shedeur knows it was an inside job. Maybe he was upset after the game because they told them the case was closed. It was some dudes from Atlanta, and he knows different. He was shook for a reason. And then here we go, Jerry Judy talking about if y'all only knew, ha. Okay. Okay. Because while it's pointing at Dylan, there's two others. There's room for you too. We gonna see. It said one day if Dan Lanning kept his clicks and likes, there you go. It said them hurricanes bringing that smoke. Thank you, Ramon. Thank you. It said, pay attention. That's it. It said, we woke all day, all day. It said, these people are crazy to trust this owner. It said, this man is a criminal. It's all over his face. I cannot believe Deshaun Watson invited this man to his wedding. Like, are you crazy? I didn't either. That's why I thought, you know what I thought? Remember I said, is that the owner from the Texans and they made up? Because how you let Haslam come to your wedding? That's why I said Deshaun don't get it. Right? I was like, he don't get it. He don't get it. And he still don't get it. He's still hoping that he can come out here and ball out. And he know that they're going to try to pit him against Shedeur. Oh, all right. We're going to see if Shedeur's still in Cleveland because this situation got all off season to stew. And they already blocking that stadium. God don't play about Shedeur. This much is obvious. Somebody said, this proves don't play with 12. I'm like, right. And we just getting started. Because if they would have told us this in November, what you think would have happened? It would have been everywhere like wildfire. They waited. They waited. Like I told you, people post stuff on Friday at noon because they leaving. And they know what's going to happen over the weekend. So they figure it's the off season. We said ain't nothing to look in when y'all find it. Because I know they saw Jarvet's page. We already washed our hands of it and they're already gone. That's what it was. That's what it was. Somebody gonna fall on the sword. Yep, we gonna see. I wanted to send you a video of the jewelers that visited Shedeur at the Prime Estates draft night. Oh, I know who you talking about. I know who you talking about. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they wanted the jury. I'm sure they did. You talking about Tahada or something like that? I think that's their name. AB, watch him with a third eye. I know that's right. Because he tried to find somewhere else for Shedeur. They did not want him there. They was like, okay, where can we send him? And he called up his connections. And if I didn't know, and it's funny, I already knew about Sashi Brown. I just didn't know Sashi Brown hired Andrew Berry. And when I found that out, I said, oh shit, that's how the teams that called him up was Philly, where Berry's twin brother works as strategic operations, and where his old boss, Sashi Brown, works. See, people thought it was Harbaugh. No, Harbaugh setting up Lamar. Why would he help Shedeur? They weren't trying to put Shedeur with LeJohntay. They don't even want LeJohntay to play, and they don't even play the guy in front of LeJohntay that much. The one that came from the Texans, that was the go-to for Deshaun. These people are like an octopus. They got all 8 of their tentacles trying to hold back people and causing all kind of ruckus. I'm like, when the hell is this shit gonna blow up? Because this is crazy. This is crazy. And people are only in the league for 3 years, right? So by the 4th year, they done moved on and they tearing somebody else down. That's like Shedeur and Trinidad. I'm moving on. I already know what I'm going to do to Shedeur. Now I'm finna do it to Trinidad. It said that's why every press conference they keep saying the fans deserve better from us because they know the fans are the ones that spoke up for him. Right. And they know the fans don't like Dylan and he don't want the fans to like Shedeur. That's why they already talking about Deshaun. They know the fans can't stand Deshaun. The fans will turn on this club behind. They do not like Deshaun. They just don't. And I think they think Andrew Berry, they don't like him either because they think Andrew Berry hired him and hasn't let them think that. And that's not true. But that's on Andrew Berry if he want to be a puppet. And Deshaun want to sit there and invite Haslam to his wedding, that's on him too. You don't hear me out here campaigning for him. I just tell you what happened. I just tell you what happened with that. But Bye, Dylan. That's what I think. It said Dylan got used like a $2. Right. And it's funny because I bet Bucky realizes now, oh, this is why they wanted me to come film all of a sudden. And what happened after the robbery? They played Vegas and suddenly they were nice to Coach Prime. Now, whose idea was that? And then after that, Cleveland was nice to Coach Prime. And after he left, they kept abusing Coach Prime. Abusing Shedeur. You see? Now you know why they was nice to him in Vegas. They just robbed Shedeur. So does that mean maybe the NFL knew about it? Just like they knew about the prank call? A lot of people are comparing the two. They see the cover up, and that's where we are. Inside job, check. Cover up, in progress. What we're seeing from the time they told us who it was. No, they didn't even tell us who it was first. They told us they got the people. It's like they was trying to let Cleveland get the hell out of the way with all their business. Yeah. Like, if you could tell me, you have identified all four, you don't have to come back on Thursday and tell me. They came back on Thursday because Shedeur was already in Miami. They was gone. We closed the case at the same time, but we issued a warrant for the arrest, and we're going to extradite them back up here. You don't need to look at nobody else. No, that's a lie. Jarvette's page say you do. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And I hate it because it's like Shedeur has no type of recourse, but I think God is his recourse. Remember I told you Shedeur's fans are his grace? Yep. It said there's talk of the fans can possibly go into the Ravens. If that happens, Lamar better force his way out. You see how they keep trying to send people to destroy Shedeur and Lamar? So that should let you know. They intentionally didn't tell you Shedeur was going to play. People on the inside knew, which is why Bucky wasn't there. Bucky didn't even get invited until this photo op happened. And they could have robbed them at the away games, but I bet they didn't work there yet. This was the beginning of the plot, the photo op. And just like the Vegas team being nice to Coach Prime after the robbery, maybe it goes up above Haslam. Right now, the cover-up, looking at Dylan, looking at the players, people on Reddit looking at Stefanski, people on X looking at Judy. I'm looking at Haslam. And when you pull Vegas into it, being nice to Coach Prime, that's the first team to be nice to Coach Prime since the draft. But then the robbery happened the week before, and Bucky was back. Mm-hmm. Bye, Judy. That's right. It said they tried everything to scare him. Yeah, they did. Later for 3, try to run him off. It said Reese got to go too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Kevin Stefanski ties to Oregon with Dan Lanning, Dylan, Dan Orlowski, Pat Schumer, Jerry Judy, Batonio, 68, all of these demons. Yep. It said just check for empty front parking spaces. What you say? Just check for empty front parking spaces. What that mean? It said, now you talking. It said Judy is a ridiculous shame to the organization. It said he a ridiculous shame to his people. It said we're here talking. Trust to believe we will know. It said it's closing in on the perpetrator. Somebody gonna talk, right? Just because you close the case don't mean social media don't find out. Understand this. They didn't tell us the names on Wednesday because they know by Wednesday night we was gonna have look at. They know social media, internet detectives. They know Black Twitter don't play. It might not even be called that no more, but it don't matter. It's still out there. They know this. They know this for a fact. They know Shedeur got 20 million fans. They know that too. So they waited until Thursday because they was gone by Friday. When I saw Cam Ward in the airport, I think Thursday, I knew everybody was gone. When Shedeur said bye, I'm going to go see my brother. They just didn't show you when he left, but he was gone. After that last press conference, that was it. When you saw Stefanski leaving, when you saw that last press conference, all of that, they was wrapping up. They was gone. And then the police, hey, we caught the guys. Then you learn you've been having the driver since the 26th of November. I was like, well, if you tell us who we looking for, maybe we could find him. They didn't want that. They didn't want that. They wanted to close the case. They insist that it's nobody else to look at in Ohio. And I totally disagree. And they finna extradite them back up there. Let's see what happened. Let's see if we even know about it. It said all this maneuvering for Arch Manning. That's it, Miss Pamela. Like they can see into the future. What if he is career-ending injury? Right. That show you how stupid they are. Miss Pamela is right. They banking the farm. They trying to push Shedeur away, push Trinidad down. They gonna devalue Dante Moore, all of that. They probably gonna send Dante Moore to Cleveland over there with Shedeur, right? And don't be surprised. They already talking about Trinidad is a day 2. I said you out your damn mind. Trinidad is better than Mendoza. They do not want to admit Mendoza is a check down king. But there are white people that's saying, yeah, he probably gonna be a bust in the NFL. It goes like this a lot. They don't even want to talk about Carson Beck. He probably deserved to be number 2 or number 1. Let's see what happens with the Natty. We know who it is now. Let's see what happens with the Natty. Backstabbers. That's the song. The OJs, Backstabbers. That's it, y'all. That's it. Backstabbers. What's Two News got it? Val got it. Mama Tia got it. Peter got it. Backstabbers. That's it. Smile in your face. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it, y'all. That's it. Straight Talk got it. Tina got it. Cynthia got it. 420 Backstabbers. That's it. Bridget said Backstabbers. It says Southern University playing Backstabbers. I was in Tennessee State U marching band. Oh, back in the day. Okay, Cynthia. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Backstabbers. That's it. They smile in your face and stab you in the back. That's what's happening to Shedeur. And it takes a lot of courage for him to go back there too. I want y'all to know. But he like Trinidad. You're not finna push them off they path. Backstabbers. But people do get desperate. But they done got themselves in the world of wind. They stand at a RICO. That's the RICO. To be hiring organized criminals to come take something from somebody that you work with because you don't want him there or because he took your job or both. Yeah. And when you say it's because he black, it makes it a hate crime. That's facts. This is happening because he's black. Because if he was white, they wouldn't say nothing. They wanted Bailey Zapp to play. They ain't have no problem with activating him. It's because he's black. So that makes it a hate crime. A RICO and a hate crime. Backstabbers. That's facts. Backstabbers. I want to see how long Jarvette Page gonna be there. Mr. Robbie. Backstabbers. Everybody got it. They smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. Think about all that touching and feeling. Haslam touching all over Coach Prime. How Jerry Judy was forcing himself to sit next to Shedeur when he know he should get the hell on. Right? Jerry Judy takes Shedeur kindness for a weakness. That's what he does. And they trying to irritate him so he'll act out. That's really what they want. So he could get booted out like Shedeur. But he loves the game. He's not gonna let you push him off his path. And they think he don't know what's going on. Donald asked me, why do you think Shedeur keep mentioning the robbery? I said, because he knows it's an inside job. Remember, the police been having Jarvette since the 26th. If they gave him Jarvette's name when it happened, do you know any of these guys? And he sent his people to look on social media. He saw what we saw. He saw what we saw. Oregon football. He saw that. I think he knows it's the inside job. I don't know if he saw the Oregon breadcrumbs or not, the Oregon football breadcrumbs or not, but he knows it's an inside job. They know somebody was hired to do it. If he sees the breadcrumbs on the page, then he'll know where it's coming from, or he'll know it happened because they're jealous that he took Dylan's job. He already know they don't want him there. He already know Haslam allowed Stefanski to abuse him. He already know Dylan is Stefanski's boy. You see how they all tied up in this? And we know Jerry Judy participated. And so did the entire O-line. We know who the dirt divers were. We heard what the girlfriend said. Everybody in the building. She's saying they all were against Shedeur. So how many of y'all chipped in to pay all four of them thousands to drive 700 miles for 12 minutes for some bags that they could have got in Brookhaven and drive all the way back? 22 hours round trip for 12 minutes to take some bags and the contents of his nightstand. Did you want leverage? You ransacked his room. You wanted him to know you was in there. When they was walking up the hall, they looked in another room and they didn't even go in there and take nothing. That's not what thieves do. That's what people do when they send you to go find something. Focus on what you're going in there for. They wasn't just being nosy at all. And they don't seemingly have taken anything in his Twitch area where he streams. They ain't take none of that. They ain't take the speaker box or none of that. And when you see them leaving with just one or two bags, and then the other dude had the bag over his shoulder that they put the t-shirts in, because they took some of them t-shirts that was still in cellophane. One dude bag don't even look like it had nothing in it. I have a feeling his bag, the one with the small tote bag that looked like my mama's church tote, I bet that's the contents of the nightstand. Yeah. Yeah, this is crazy. Yep, the backstabbers. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. It said got up trying to dance on these surgical knees. Oh, okay, Mama Tia. It said what they do. Yep, smile in your face. All right, I guess we get ready to get out of here. Did you see the band director and the students did the rendition for him at the game? Oh, the old band director. No, I don't know much about them like that, but no, I didn't. That's Southern backstabbers. All right, we finna get out of here, y'all. The song is Backstabbers by the OJs. Yes, 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 it is. Got me up smiling and dancing. Good. I'm glad we could bring some joy. It said, I believe JJ know what's going on. He was Kevin's boy, right? And remember, think about it. Everybody in the building wants Dylan to play. What is it Tommy Reese says? Oh, I love Jerry Judy. We're going to feature him more. So you're going to feature the person that's failing. Okay. Stefanski. He refused to make rotations to the people that are doing bad and manipulated the roster so the worst people can play and undermine Andrew Barry because Barry kept bringing in people that could play on either side and he didn't want to play them. So it seemed like Barry not in on trying to push Shedeur out, but it seems like Haslam is because Haslam said it. We could have won more than 5 games, but you didn't want to fire Stefanski. You said Stefanski did good work for us, and he had only won at the time 5 games in 2 years. So what work did he do for you? So Haslam, Stefanski, Dylan, Tommy Reese, and Jerry Judy. Just look right there. They are the ones that need to be investigated first. How many people is that? Tommy Reese, Haslam, Stefanski, Jerry Judy, and who else did I say? No, I think that's everybody. Oh, and Dylan. 5. You got 5 people you could be interviewing. And if the case was open and you heard this video, you could interview them, but you closed the case. So nothing else happens where Ohio is concerned. That means you know. And I think Shedeur know too. Backstabbers. That's it. That is it. So I'm playing it right now. All right. So I'm gonna get myself out of here. This was good. This was good. I'm glad I found Backstabbers. So I could play it. I'm gonna play it on the way out, and I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow.
A return of 2 to everything is up. It is good. We have 10:39 remaining here in the second quarter of play. Your new score, all of you, at AW Comfort Stadium. The Jaguars 7, the Tigers 3. Jaguars
All right. So that was it, guys. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with What She Said Sports. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a good one. Enjoy the weekend as well.